Hey guys, so it has been 2 weeks tomorrow since I've had Miss Veyda, and I don't think that I'm going to get any more sleep or any more amount of time in terms of making my labor video for you guys. So it's just gonna have to be a nice little multitasking video where I look like crap and I'm trying to take care of her. So here we go. Before I get started on my labor video and what had happened and how I got from point A to point B, I will go ahead and show you guys Veyda. I know I showed you a little bit before, but say hi everybody, Veyda. A lot of people want to see you. Say hey everybody, I'm trying to poop. I just woke up. I'm trying to poop. She has a birthmark right here in the shape of a V on her forehead. This knot still hasn't went down, but they said it's just fluid, so it's okay. My little chubby cheeks. Yeah. Get your finger out of your eye. Say hi to everybody. They miss you. They want to see you. They've waited a long time to see you. Yeah. They've waited a long time to see you, Missy. Okay. So before she gets too fussy, we'll go ahead and talk about my labor, what happened. So Monday, the 20th of November, I chose to have an induction. My reason for induction was that there's a couple reasons. Number one, they were kind of pushing it due to gestational diabetes. Technically I was diet controlled, so they would have let me went as long as I wanted. Well, I think 41 day past my due date is what they would have let me go because of gestational diabetes. But they were really kind of pushing it like, hey, this might be a good idea, baby might be too big, blah, blah, blah. But the real reason why I did it was because my anxiety was getting really bad. And I was to the point of where I was having panic attacks that was like affecting my blood pressure. And I didn't have preeclampsia, but I was putting myself in the hospital multiple times because I was freaking out so bad about just like going into labor in general and having a baby. It was just really, really making my anxiety, it wasn't good for me and it wasn't good for the baby. So I was like, okay, well, let's go ahead and do induction. And the reason why I thought it was going to go so well was because I have been in, early labor for months now. I was having contractions about 3 minutes apart for 2 months. I went to labor delivery multiple times, and it was slowly dilating me, but they weren't going to push it, like give me anything up until 39 weeks. So it was basically just like really bad contractions every day, all day for months on end, and it was just miserable. And I was a 2, I was 60% or 70%, I don't remember, and baby was at -2 station. So it was doing something for her, it was just moving very slowly, and I was to the point of where I was so exhausted with it that I was like, let's just try induction, let's do it, let's get induced. So I went in Monday night at 9 p.m., 7 p.m., I lied, 7 p.m., I went in Monday night, the 20th, and they started me on Cytotec, which is a pill that they put near your cervix to help thin out your cervix, which can sometimes cause dilation and other things. So it could have progressed labor fully. They started that at 9 p.m. I started having intense contractions after that, contractions that required focus and breathing. They went to check me 4 hours later to determine if they were going to put another one because they're supposed to do it every 4 hours, put like another part of the Cytotec in. But my contractions were 2 minutes apart. They were 2 minutes apart. They were pretty intense, and I was at a 2 or 4 hours later. So I was at a 3. I was like 90%, and baby was still at a -2 though. But it got to the back where my bag was bulging. So they were like, okay, well, let's let her go. She's contracting really well. She seems to be dilating, and maybe her water will break. So I sat with Cytotec for 12 hours. Just that little half. It actually, what they called, overstimulated my contractions to where I was having like 10-minute long contractions, 2 minutes apart for 12 hours. It was absolutely miserable. And I was very determined to have a natural birth, so I didn't have any pain medication, nothing, for those 12 hours. But after those 12 hours had went by, it was about 9 a.m., I was very tired. I had labored all night, and I was hungry because they wouldn't let me eat. Well, they're like, well, we need to start you on Pitocin. Yeah. They're like, we need to start you on Pitocin, because, you know, like, they checked me, and after 12 hours of intense contractions, I was still at a 3. I was almost I was almost, let me think, I think I was like 95%, so I was pretty thinned out at that point. Baby was still at a -2, and I was still at a 3. So after 12 hours of the labor, I wasn't progressing. They're like, okay, we're going to start you on Pitocin. And my doula helped convince them to let me eat before we started that because, you know, we don't know how quickly or how slowly things are going to go. So they let me eat. They immediately transferred me to a birthing room anyway. Like, instead of, I don't know, they put me in triage at first to see if I was going to respond. I don't know. Anyway, so they transferred me to a different birthing room because I wanted to labor in the tub. I know that Pitocin was going to cause some pretty intense contractions. So we switched. They tried putting me on a, they call it a Novi, and it's like a portable monitor instead of like the strap so that you can get in water and stuff. They tried it multiple times, and they have to use sandpaper to sand down your skin so that it like sticks in there. They tried it so many times. I still have like, I have a scar from where they sanded it down, and I have blisters and shit. Anyway, so it was miserable. So it didn't work. They couldn't get like the Bluetooth connection to work. So they let me off the monitor every 45 minutes or so I could get in the tub, and contract there. So we started Pitocin, and they started it like slow, you know, like they're like, well, we started at 2 and we go up to every 4 hours, or no, every 30 minutes. That's what it was. So they were like gonna go 2, 4, 6, 8 every 30 minutes, like upping the dosage of Pitocin to mimic contractions. And I was already having contractions at this point. I just wasn't dilating. And they wouldn't, this was literally the reason why they wouldn't break my water. I had a midwife instead of my doctor there, and she was a complete bitch, and I don't care, I'm going to say it. And she told me they weren't going to break my water because she didn't think that I could handle it. I couldn't handle the pain of them breaking my water. I'm like, okay. So she like flat out refused to do it. So, which I would have rather had than Pitocin, but whatever. So they started me on Pitocin. You should poop, baby. So they started me on Pitocin, and like I told them, I was like, you can start me, but you're starting me on a 1 because I overstimulated on a quarter of the Cytotec. So you're gonna start me at a 1, and we'll go from there. So they start me at a 1. About an hour later, they gave me a chance, and I still wasn't dilating. They kept bumping me up. I was like, okay, screw it. You know, at this point, go ahead and just do it. Just go to 2, and then they went to 4, and then they kept going up and up. Contractions definitely were getting worse. The only way that I could get through contractions was on the yoga ball, laying down in the tub. Everything else was way too painful. They were absolutely horrible. I could barely breathe through them, and eventually they got me up to 11 with Pitocin about 10 hours later. So I labored with Pitocin for 10 hours. Contractions were miserable. And finally, I had the doctor come in and check me, and I had made a decision in my head that if I'm not at least a 4, I'm going home. This is not traditional. This is not something that most people will do. A lot of people forget that when you are at the hospital at any period of time, or you at a doctor, you hired them, you paid them, they work for you. Now, obviously, there are medical reasoning for a lot of what they do, and it's not that what they do is wrong, but you have a choice in your treatment, regardless of what you're doing at the hospital or at the doctor. You have a choice, and you ultimately make the calls. So, I know that. I used to work for that hospital I gave birth at, and I just knew what needed to be done. And I felt personally that I pushed induction to the point of I was comfortable stopping. It wasn't working. They checked me. I was still 3. I was still like 90% thinned out, and baby still had not dropped. And my midwife refused to break my water, and I could not physically handle the pain anymore. Of course, they pushed pain meds and the epidural and everything else, and I'm like, baby's not ready. Baby is not ready to go. It's fine. So, after arguing with the midwife for a couple hours, I said, I want to talk to my doctor. Call my doctor. I don't want to talk to you. They called my doctor in. He came in for me. He talked to me, and he, obviously told me the risks. He told me, she could be a big baby. You have gestational diabetes. We really don't want you to go past, blah, blah, blah. I asked him one question. I said, if I stop induction, is it going to hurt the baby? If I just stop these medications? And he said, no. I said, okay, I'm going home. So he's like, well, you're still contracting pretty well. Do you want to wait till, see if contractions slow down? So I was like, yeah, that's fine. So we stopped all medication. I was still contracting, and I finally got some sleep. Me, my husband, and my doula were the only ones left, and we all got some sleep. I pissed off a lot of family members who traveled down for my induction. And anyway, so they all left. Everybody left except my doula and my husband. And I waited probably about another 2 hours. I took a nap. My doula had woken me up and was like, hey, your contractions are 30 minutes apart now. You're sleeping through them. She's like, it's probably time to go home. So I'm like, yeah, you're right. So we go home. I go home. I halt induction and I go home. It's Wednesday morning. It is Thanksgiving morning at this, no, it was Wednesday, but I don't think it was Thanksgiving, or maybe it was Thursday. It was Thanksgiving Thursday. I don't remember. I'm pretty sure it was Thanksgiving morning that I had went home. Or it was the day before. I don't remember. All I know is that I went home and my contractions had slowed down. I was devastated. I'm pretty sure it was Wednesday because Thanksgiving was Thursday because then it was Black Friday. So we're going to do Wednesday morning is when I went home. And I was devastated. I had gotten told how disappointed people were in me for giving up. I doubted myself. I felt horrible. I felt like I was hurting her. I probably hit a breaking point when I came home. I felt so guilty and bad and weak that I just felt disappointed in myself. I felt like a failure. I cried and cried and cried and cried and cried. I just sat on the bathroom floor, and I just remember crying probably the hardest I've ever cried in my entire life about failing this induction, my body failing, disappointing my family members who came down to see her birth. It was a very, very difficult moment for me. So then, I basically we stayed at home or whatever, and then that morning we went and we had Thanksgiving, and I wasn't hungry at all. I barely ate. I was really upset. I barely said anything to any of my family that was down. I barely ate. I barely spoke. I took a couple pictures that were on my Instagram with my husband, and that was it. I was like, let's go. I don't want to be here anymore. I was just so depressed. I made a onesie, that Thanksgiving onesie, because I expected her to be here, and I was just heartbroken at that point that I hadn't had the baby and that I had given up. And I, more than anything, I regretted my decision to go through induction in the first place. That was mainly my biggest regret, was that I had tried something that obviously she wasn't ready for, and I regretted it very badly. So Thursday night, after Thanksgiving, Thursday, I guess after Thanksgiving, like 1, 2 o'clock, I was feeling pretty down about everything, and I was also feeling determined to try to get labor started. One of the conditions that my doctor had given me when I left was that he will let me go to Tuesday, which was 1 day past my due date. He's like, if you do not have this baby by Tuesday, you have to come back in for induction. Everybody was really mad at me for choosing that option, because that means I'd have to start all over. He's like, you're going to have to start all over on Pitocin. You're going to have to go through everything all over again. But I was like, if that's what it comes to, then that's what it comes to. But I'm not forcing anything right now. So anyway, after Thanksgiving, about 1, 2 o'clock, I come home, and I'm determined to try to go into labor on my own. So I'm like on the yoga ball. I'm like doing stretches. Like I'm doing all this other stuff. And I get in the bathtub, and I'm relaxing. I'm still having contractions at this point. They're like every 30 minutes or so, and they're nothing compared to the Pitocin contractions that I felt, or the Pitocin contractions I felt, the intense contractions. So I'm like, whatever. I get in the bathtub, I'm relaxing, and I'm like, okay. I went and bought a hand pump, and I'm like, let's try to pump. Let's see what happens. I've never pumped anything before in my life. I had no idea what I was doing, but I'm going to try to pump. So I read the instructions really good. I sterilized everything because I was going to store the milk. And I just sat in the bathtub, and I pumped for about 10 minutes. It wasn't very long at all. I barely got anything out of both breasts. But about 30 minutes later, I noticed I started getting some pretty intense contractions. And I kind of labored through them. Like, they weren't anything compared to what I had at the hospital, but they were starting to pick up. And eventually, it, came nighttime, and my husband was asleep, and my contractions were getting really painful. They were about the level of contractions I was having with the Pitocin. They were intense. They were pretty rough. I had to get in the bathtub to try to calm them down, which didn't really help. I don't know why people think that laboring in the water helps, because it did not help me at all. Just the yoga ball. I sat on the yoga ball next to the edge of the bed while my husband was sleeping and contracted all night. And they got to the point I could not breathe. They were very intense. And they were about a minute apart. I should have went in sooner, but I didn't want to go in and hear, oh, you're still a 3. Because if I went in, they were going to induce me. They weren't going to let me go home at that point. So about, I think it was 9 p.m. No, I started contracting at like 9 p.m. I'm trying to get my time right. I started contracting about 9 p.m. is when they got real bad. About 6 a.m., so me being up all night, could not sleep. I could not lay down through these contractions. They were bad. I woke my husband up, and I'm like, we got to go to the hospital. I'm like, I'm sorry. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if we're going to have this baby or not, but I'm in pain, and I need to know what's going on. So we pack our stuff. We pack everything like we're going to have her, and we go to the hospital. We get there about 10 minutes till 6 in the morning, and this is on Black Friday. We get there, and I think I had a Slim Jim in the car. I was like, I should probably eat, because if this is it, then they're not going to let me eat, So I'm like, okay. So we get there, and I'm laying down, and everybody's like, oh, you're back. At this point, everybody knows me, because I'm the girl who halted induction at the hospital. Probably the first time it's ever happened. So they're like, oh, you're back, blah, blah, blah. So this nurse comes in, and she's like, okay, I'm going to check you. And I'm shaking. I'm almost in tears. I'm like, fuck, I'm going to be a 3, and I'm going to have to fight to go back home, and blah, blah. So she checks me. She looks at me, and she goes, you're a 7. And I was like, what? She's like, you're a 7. You're 100% thinned out. You're a 7, and I can feel the baby's head. I started crying so hard. I'm like, you're kidding me, right? She's like, no. So she's like, so we're going to let you do what you're doing, keep contracting. And I'm like, oh my God, like, oh my God, this is it. Like, I'm going to have this baby. Like, I did it. I did it on my own. Like, I'm doing this. And so we call everybody. We call my doula. My doula lives an hour away. She flies over here. She's like, what, she's a 7? My husband, like, we call my mom. We call my sister. We call my grandma. We're like, we're having this baby today. It was such a sigh of relief to finally, just, like, figure, like, we're going to do this. Like, this is actually going to happen. So they put me into a birthing room, the room that I gave birth to Veyda in. And everybody gets there, and I'm contracting on my own very painfully. And I will tell you this. Contractions with Pitocin are just as bad as contractions when you're in transition. Okay, I was at a 3, and those contractions were nearly unbearable unmedicated. The same level of pain I had with those contractions on medication are the same level of contractions I had all night that got me to a 7, got me to an 8. So the contractions, natural contractions, if you can let your body go into labor naturally, I suggest doing it, because it is so much easier to go through a natural labor with natural contractions. Going through it, I did it all the way up, I did it for 12 hours. My body didn't respond, but I labored, or I think it was 10 hours with Pitocin. It was 12 hours with Cytotec. It was hard, and that's probably why I was like, oh, these contractions, they suck, but they're not doing anything, because they weren't doing anything. But when they were my own contractions, if I would have waited a couple more hours, I might have had her on the floor. So maybe not, because what happened next was shocking. So I labor for, let me think, we got there at about 6 a.m. In total, I labored for 10 hours on my own. This is in addition to the 40 some odd hours. I was in total in labor for 55 hours, just so everybody's aware, for a week. I only had a day break, but anyway, so I labor on my own for 10 hours. I can't remember at what point they checked me at how many hours. They checked me and I was an 8. So they're like, okay, keep going, do what you got to do. My contractions got to the point to where I felt like pushing. My water had still not broken at this point. Let's go over that. My water was still intact at an 8. And while I could get through the contractions, they were very painful, and I felt like pushing with every single contraction at an 8. Obviously, I can't push at an 8, but I was pushing at an 8. I couldn't help it. So they're like, let's break your water. So my doctor is in charge of everything now. I don't see any nurses. He came in for everything that needed to be done because he said I was a special case and that nobody else would touch me, basically, because of he allowed what had happened. So he comes in and he feels me. And my doctor, compared to my nurse, was huge. My doctor, he's a big guy with big old meaty hands. And he's like, oh, you're only at a 6. I'm like, but I was at a 8. And he's like, well, he's like, she has smaller fingers, so, whatever. He's like, but you're definitely far enough along for me to break your water. He's like, I can feel it. I can feel the baby's head. I'm like, okay. I'm like, so break my water. At this point, I'm scared that breaking my water is going to hurt because I've heard that it hurts to break your water. It didn't hurt. He broke my water, and I had a massive amount of fluid. If your water breaks and you've never been pregnant, I'm letting you know that you will feel your water break. Unless it leaks, you will feel your water break. It felt like a very warm water hose just shooting out of there. It was just fucking gushing. They had towels and towels and towels. And I'm like, can I sit in the, tub? Can I get up with my water broke? And they're like, yeah. So I get in the tub, and I go through contractions there. Contractions after my water broke were the worst pain I've ever felt in my life. I couldn't get through them in the tub. Tub didn't fucking help at all. I was like, I need to be on that yoga ball. A lot of people say because I was on the yoga ball, I had back labor. I felt pain everywhere. I don't know what kind of labor I had. All I know is it sucked. So I'm on the yoga ball, and I have my doula on one side, my husband on the other. Every contraction, I'm pushing out a gallon of water, and I'm soaking the floor. I soaked both of them. I didn't care at all. I didn't mention anything. I was just focused so hard on these contractions. So I was in so much pain at this point that I was like, look, I'm like, I want you to check me. If I have not gotten Patinate, I want the fucking epidural, okay? And that's something for me because I was very determined to not have medication. But let me tell you, that pain is no joke. And anybody who goes through labor, naturally, not naturally, I don't care, you're a superhero because it sucks. All right? I'm not sugarcoating it for anybody. It sucks. So they checked me and I'm still an 8. After my water had broken, I'm still an 8. Like an hour later. At this point, it's 4 or 5 o'clock. Probably about 4 o'clock. So he's like, okay, we'll give you the epidural, but we have to run these fluids through you first. It's going to take an hour. Are you fucking kidding me? So they run the fluids for me, and I have to wait an hour before they'll give me the epidural. Just so you guys know, they got to run fluids through you first. So you feel like, give me the epidural now. They're like, sorry, you got to wait another hour. So I'm sitting there contracting for an hour. I'm to the point of where I'm staring at the door waiting for that anesthesiologist to come in. I'm like, okay, give me it now. Like, I was in so much pain. Every time I felt a contraction come, I started to cry. I looked at my husband. I was like, I can't do it. I can't do this. I was in transition at this point, and they said it's the hardest part, but I don't regret getting the epidural. He came in. They made everybody leave. They made me sit on the bed. I'm crying. At this point, I am terrified of medication. You guys know this. I don't do it. I don't even take medication for my headaches. When that anesthesiologist came in with those drugs, I was like, fucking give them to me now. Okay? I didn't care about anything else. I didn't care about the needle going in my back. I didn't care about the fact I wasn't going to feel my legs. I was like, give me it now. So he leans back. I didn't feel anything go in. Extractions tapped my pain charts. I was like, whatever. He puts it in. He gives me the medication, and he goes, can you feel your contractions? I was in tears. I was like, yes, I can feel my contractions. Immediately, fear runs through my head, and I'm like, oh my God, this isn't going to work. The epidural's not working. So he gave me another dose, and immediately I didn't feel anything. And I could wiggle my toes. I could move, like, my ankles. It was really from, like, my knees to my belly button I couldn't feel. But, they laid me down, and everybody came back in, and they're like, my husband and everybody's like, you look so calm. I'm like, oh my God, it feels so good. I could feel it. It kind of felt like Braxton Hicks. That's what the epidural did to me. I felt the pressure. I felt the tightening, and I felt the pressure on my ribs, like Braxton Hicks, but I didn't feel the pain. And I don't regret getting it. And honestly, I wish I got it sooner because it was awesome and it was just amazing for me. A lot of people have bad experiences with the epidural and it's scary, but I pushed myself to the point of where I physically could not do it anymore, and I don't regret getting it. So I got the epidural, and I got it at an 8. And it was probably dumb because I did not push the button to receive any more medication because they checked me an hour later. At this point, it was, I would say, like almost 6 o'clock. No. My timing's off because I started pushing at 5 o'clock. So somewhere, I don't remember what time it was, but an hour had passed, and they checked me, and they're like, you're 10. You're 10. You are thinned out 100%. Baby's head is right there. It's time to push. So it took an hour with the epidural to bring me from an 8 to let's do this. So she props my legs up. She stuck her fingers in there, and she's like, I need you to try to push my fingers out. So they're teaching me how to push at this point. So I try, and I still had the epidural pretty strong. And she's like, I need you to push. So I try, and she's like, you're not pushing. I couldn't feel my pushes. I couldn't feel anything. So I didn't push the button again for the epidural. I let it wear off. It got to the point of where I was slightly feeling contractions. I was slightly feeling everything. It wasn't completely worn off, but I could feel and I could push. That was the important thing. She's like, okay, you're pushing now. So I started pushing. I know I started pushing at 5 o'clock. 5 or 5:30, one or the other. So we start pushing. And that was really hard too. Not hard pain-wise, but hard physically. Pushing, breathing was hard. They had to give me an oxygen mask because I was getting dizzy. I was pushing and I wasn't breathing well, and they almost stopped everything because I had a fever. And they're like, we have to give you antibiotics, but baby's head, you could see her hair. down there. You can see her hair. Her head was right there. He's like, I would stab normally, but you're so close. He's like, you can do this. My OB was amazing. He had full faith in me. So I pushed for an hour and a half. Or 2 hours. It was somewhere around there. I pushed this little turd for a very long time. And by the end of it, I did not have my epidural anymore. I felt everything, and it hurt really bad. So if you have had a natural labor from start to finish, like, you are Superwoman in my head, because it hurts really fucking bad. And if you've done it with an epidural, you're Superwoman. I don't give a crap how you've given birth, whether it's C-section, vaginal, whatever your means are, however you got from point A to point baby, congratulations, because it's hard work, and nobody tells you that. They'll tell you, like, oh, you know, it wasn't that bad. It's worth it. That's what you hear all the time. It's worth it. Once you have that baby, it's worth it. It is worth it, but don't sugarcoat it. It sucks. I'm pretty sure I scared my sister out of ever having kids because she was there. She filmed it, actually. I do have a video, a vaginal video of her birth. I don't think YouTube will let me post it. I don't know where else to post it because I do want to share it with the world. But anyway, so I'm pushing for hours and hours. And it sucks. And when you guys see this video, if I'm ever able to share it with you guys, I have my doula on my left leg, my husband on my right. I have my sister at my head, but also moving back and forth to film. I have my mom at my feet. And then I have a nurse who stayed after her shift to watch me give birth to this baby at my feet. I have another nurse monitoring me, and I have my doctor, my OB. I had a team, and they were all doing the same thing. They were counting my breaths. You know, they were like, okay, hold your breath. And they're like, 1, 2, 3, you know, pushing. And I had just a team. You can just hear them in the video. They're like, come on, Helena, go, go, go. They're like, you know, and I feel like with every push, they were like, she's almost here. She's almost here for 2 hours. And I'm like, she's not here. If my pushes started out just me breathing. The end, I was screaming. I was just screaming her out at that point. I could feel everything. And I was so exhausted. And I couldn't breathe. And I just couldn't push her out. Her head was too big. I just couldn't do it. I was just so tired. But finally, I look up at my mom at the last push, and she's like, her head's right there. You have to push. Because I didn't want to push anymore. And at that point, if I was with any other doctor, they would have C-sectioned me. But, you know, he looked at me. He's like, you can do this. And so I push, and I scream. And it was way longer than 10 seconds, and I wasn't breathing, and I heard, like, my fucking monitor going off. But I did it. I pushed, and I'm watching the video. My doctor had his, like, hands in there, and he was, like, trying to stretch me. And I pushed her head out, and he was, like, trying to make sure her cord wasn't around her head, and he was, like, in there. And they're like, one more push her body out. And I'll never forget the feeling of that, what it felt like to physically push her out. It was such a weird sensation, but it was such a relief. Put her out, put her directly on my chest. And I will say I don't really remember that part. It was such a rush, and I had never held a newborn before. I'm very new to babies in general, and when they put her on my chest, I just knew. It was definitely instinctual. You know, I was just like, hi, Veyda. Like, I just kept, you know, like, just kept talking to her. And, like, you know, like, she was crying, and I was just at peace, I felt like I was just at peace. Like, it wasn't euphoria like everybody describes it for me. I was calm. I was just very calm at that point. We did delayed cord clamping. My husband cut the cord. And we immediately went to breastfeeding. And she latched like a champ. And they waited. You know, they're like, okay, well, you know, whenever you want me to weigh her and everything, just let me know because I'm breastfeeding her. And, he's doing whatever he's doing down there. At that point, I really wasn't concerned. And then I was like, go ahead. They cut her cord, and I was like, yeah, you can go ahead and weigh her. And everybody walked over there, and I'm just sitting there with my husband, At this point, I'm getting stitches. My doctor, who was cleaning me out, he was pulling out pieces of placenta. He was showing everybody the placenta I got pictures of. I was very interested in it. I will say pushing out the placenta was the best feeling in the world, because I don't know why. He was like, here, just give me a push. And I was like, push, and it was great. Anyway, they weigh her, and all of a sudden I hear everybody, oh my God. And the nurse looks at me and she goes, she's almost 9 pounds. And I'm like, are you kidding me? She was 8 pounds, 12 ounces. 12, almost 13. 8 pounds, 13 ounces, basically. 21 inches long. She was a very big baby. Okay, I weigh 100 pounds. She was a big baby. And I pushed her out vaginally. Everybody was very shocked, to say the least. And I'm damn proud of it, too. I don't care if I sound like I'm bragging. I'm fucking proud of it. This was hard. So they bring her back to me. I'm getting stitches. Yada, yada, yada. Everything goes great. Her sugars are great. I'm great. Everybody's happy. We get sent home. We stayed there for 2 days. I stayed there early because my iron dropped to a 7. And they put me on iron supplements. So I stayed there a little bit longer than usual. But we finally went home. And when she was 4 days old, so we were home for 2 days, I think, she started cluster feeding, and she was up every hour needing fed, and it was very difficult for me breastfeeding her because I needed some fucking sleep. You just got done running a triathlon, and then they're like, here, you're done running it, but go home and get no sleep or food. Like, you don't get a break when you have a baby. You do all of this very hard work, and then you get sent home, and you're clueless, you're scared, and you're very tired, and you never get a rest. Because even in the hospital, she was with me. Like, they don't get sent to nurseries anymore. They stay in the room, and you basically, like, live there. It's basically like a practice run before you go home. If you need a nurse, you can buzz them, but for the most part, you do everything. You feed them, you burp them, you change them, you do everything. So, basically, day 4, I broke down. I was like, I can't breastfeed anymore. I have to pump. I have to have him help me. I need some sleep. I was dizzy. I was feeling very sick. At this point, I got a fever. I was like, we have to do it. So I bought a pump. And here's another thing. Don't make plans when you have a baby, because things will change. I wanted natural birth, breastfeeding only, cloth diapering from newborn. We're still in disposables. We've used cloth diapers, but we still use disposables. I'm using everything that I've gotten. So things change, your plans change, and I will never feel ashamed for the decisions that I've made, for getting the epidural or for choosing to pump. We had chose to pump, and for a whole night before we went and bought my pump, we gave her formula because I could not physically do it. I could not stay up another night. I needed to sleep. My husband gave me a night off. We gave her formula, and I don't regret that decision. I don't feel bad for that decision. Then I started pumping. I overproduce. I produce about 7 to 8 ounces every 2 hours. So I have a big freezer stash, and we started just doing strictly pumping breast milk, which is fine. She takes it like a champ. Now she won't latch on my boob. I went to the doctor. We checked her. It's pretty much normal. She's like, you can bottle feed her if you want, but she probably won't latch onto your boob after that. It's like, okay, and she won't, and that's fine. That's fine with me. She's fed and she's happy, so, whatever, I'll continue to pump for her and do the best that I can, and that's what's important, is I'm doing the best that I can for her. Regardless of what you think is the best for your baby, I'm doing the best that I can physically for me, for my mental health, for my physical health, and for her health, and this is the best decision I can make. So we pump for her. My husband feeds her and helps me feed her and helps me change her now, and I get some sleep, and it's great. So, on anybody who says otherwise. Occasionally, she started getting really gassy. And I was like, it's probably something I'm eating because I'm eating like trash because I had gestational diabetes and I want all the sugar and I'm eating like crap. It's probably my breast milk making her sick. She wasn't sick, she's just real gassy. Like, let's give her formula for 24 hours and see if it helps. Did you poop? I smell poopy. So we gave her Enfamil Gentle Ease. And I gave it to her for 24 hours strictly, and it did help. She's been pooping like a champ. So we had our second doctor's visit. When we left the hospital, so she was 8, 12 birth. When we left the hospital, she was 8'4", so she dropped weight, which is normal. First doctor's appointment, she was 8'11", so she went back up drastically, which they were like, we expected her to lose weight, but no, chunk gained weight. You did poop. I can smell it. And then the second doctor's appointment, she was still 8'11". So they said they want them back up to their birth weight by 14 days, by 2 weeks. She wasn't concerned that she hadn't gained weight because she had gained so much. She's like, but by next week, so by my next appointment, Tuesday, she'll be past 2 weeks. She'll be a little over 2 weeks. She has to have gained at least enough, at least a couple more ounces. She's like, you're already supplementing with formula every now and then. She's like, I'm doing the best that I can for her. She's taking between 2 and 4 ounces every couple hours. We're doing what we can. So I'm at the point now to where the formula has helped her poop. So I do like every other feeding. I do formula and then breast milk. And if you guys want to bitch at me about it, go ahead, but I don't care. This is cleared with my doctor, and it works for me, it works for her. Everybody's happy and healthy, so screw off. I know a lot of people, freak out about, how to raise a child, and I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of shit for it, but I really don't care what you think. So we kind of switch off every now and then between formula and breast milk. She definitely likes mommy's milk a lot better. I don't plan on not giving it to her. But the formula helps her tummy, her digestive system. It obviously keeps her fuller longer so I can get some sleep. My husband is officially back at work. He's been at work this entire week. So I let him sleep throughout the night. And it's exhausting. So if I can get her 4 ounces of formula so I can get 4 hours of sleep, I do it. Most of the time we give her breast milk though. We give her breast milk more than we do formula. Since I already pump it, might as well. I do not want to pump anymore. I will tell you guys that. I'm already tired of it. My nipples hurt. I'm tired of getting up every couple hours to fucking pump. I'm tired of my boobs being rock hard every couple hours because I overproduce. I have to pump or I just can't describe it. It hurts so bad. They hurt right now. I haven't pumped since last night. And unfortunately, baby comes first. So we wake her up, we feed her, we change her, we calm her down, we get her to sleep, and then mom can pump and eat. And I still haven't done that yet because I made the video for you guys. So, but she's calm now, but don't worry because once I stop this video and I go to eat or pump, she's going to wake up. But no, we're just sleeping like an angel right now. Oh, yes. Say hi, everybody. Veyda. Veyda. Oh, yes. Veyda. So, anyway, so there you go, guys. That brings me today. Brings me to my everyday life now. It's exhausting. Raising a child, or at least a newborn, would not be difficult if you could get sleep every night. That's the hardest part. Feeding her, changing her, that's all she does. Eat, sleep, and poop. It's easy, right? You need sleep. That's the hardest part, is you don't get sleep. Yeah, it's definitely the hardest part is that you don't get sleep. Because if I could sleep, I would be great. She's sleeping. I should be sleeping right now. You know how hard it is to sleep when they sleep? Does anybody know? Because it's hard. It's impossible. You know, like, you're up. I have shit to do today. I have laundry. I have dishes. I have to eat myself. Like, I have stuff I have to do. I still have friends, like, can we come over? Can we come over? Can we come over? And I'm like, no, because I'm, like, still barely functioning. Like, I look like crap. Like, I walk around in my nursing bra because I have to pump every couple hours. Like, I haven't washed my hair in God knows how long. I tried dyeing it, and I haven't even washed the dye out yet. Like, I'm just done. Like, no, you can't come over because I'm still a wreck. Maybe most people can recover better than me, but I can't. I have bad anxiety. I have depression. I've always had it. Things are rough on me right now, I did tear, by the way. I have second degree tears. I tore from the inside all the way down to my butthole. I tore the whole 9 yards. Obviously, I pushed out her, and it hurt. And it still hurts really bad. So I can't sit right most of the time. I can't do a lot of things right now. That's that. That's that. I mean, the one thing I will say is that she's amazing, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't want any more kids as of right now because it was very difficult. I wouldn't go through the trouble of getting pregnant right now. I told my husband, like, maybe like 4 years from now. It's still very fresh in my head, everything I went through, and this stage is the hardest. Labor sucked. Pregnancy sucked. Labor sucked. Pushing sucked. Nothing sucks more than not getting sleep. It's very hard. Very, very hard. I got pink eye a couple days ago because I didn't wash my hands after changing a diaper, I guess. It's gross, but it happens. I got pink eye. I had a sinus infection. I had a headache for like a week. They made me go to the ER because they were like scared it was preeclampsia, which it wasn't. I still have headaches. I'm dehydrated. I'm hungry. I'm fucking so tired. And like, your life will never be the same. It just won't, and it's very hard to transition mentally for me. But at the same time, like, anytime I start to feel anxious or depressed, I just go and I just look at her, and it really does melt all away. It really does. It really does change things for you in the best way possible. To see her and to see something so perfect that someone like me created. Someone like me with depression and anxiety and I've always considered myself, like, definitely not even close to perfect. I have a lot of flaws, and just for me to see that I created something so absolutely perfect, so pure, it's just such an amazing thing. It really, really is. I mean, I love her more than anything, and it still seems very surreal to me. I still can't believe, like, this is it. Like, this is my life now. This is what I do every day. Like, this is forever. This isn't like a weekend thing, and it's still very new to me that she doesn't go home. This is home to her. And it's weird not being pregnant. I'm down 35 pounds, which I will gladly show you guys my belly. I don't give a crap. I have stretch marks, and I'm not going to be ashamed of them. God dang. So that's my postpartum belly. I got stretch marks here, belly button, here, and some over here. So yeah, I have stretch marks, and I do have a little bit of flub now that I never had before. I don't care. I don't care at all. It doesn't bother me. I'm never going to feel ashamed of my body for what it's done because I've done something that I never thought I could do. I got pregnant, which is something I never thought I could do. I went through pregnancy, which I thought I was going to give up on somehow. I not technically give up, but like, I just felt so defeated during pregnancy. And I got through labor. I got through labor till I was 8 centimeters, okay? And that's an achievement for me. I got through that. And I got an epidural, which is also awesome for me because I hate medication. I got through that. And I got through pushing her out vaginally, which there's no shame in getting a C-section. that's hard work too. They asked me, they're like, we can give you a C-section. I said no, because that, I hear, is a lot worse recovery. So congratulations to anybody who's done that too, but I'm still proud of what I did. And if that means that I have these marks, these stretch marks for the rest of my life, then so be it, because it's a reminder of how strong I was and what I've done, what my body has done, something that I never in a million years thought that I could do. And it's a reminder of her and our journey together. And you guys have been there with me since the beginning, since we started trying, since I went to St. Louis, since way before. You guys have been there way before all of this. You've been there since the beginning of this journey. And, you know, it's so surreal that we have made it this far, because you always hear people tell you, like, you'll get pregnant, it'll happen, it'll happen, it'll happen. And it just doesn't feel like it ever will, but it did. And it's so crazy that I get to share this journey with you guys, and I get to show you, like, it, you know, look, like, it was years of hard work. You guys know that. We've been there. You've been there for me. You've seen me cry. You've seen me upset. You've seen my negative tests. You've seen me stand back up after those negative tests and do it all over again. And this is it. This is what I get out of it. Isn't that right, Veyda? This is it. This is what all those years of hard work were for. Right, Vey? All those years of hard work. And it was all for you. And you were just taking your sweet little time. You needed extra time to come here, and that's okay. That's okay. So that's that, guys. It's my hour-long labor video telling you guys what happened and how it happened and how I feel now and what's going on. They have me coming in Friday, 2 weeks postpartum, because I scored high on the depression test, which, whoo, big surprise there. I knew it. I've had depression since I was 14. I'm not, like, that shocked, to be honest with you. They're going to ask me to be on medication, and I will tell them, yes, you can prescribe me something. I probably won't take it until I absolutely need to. Definitely need to be on anxiety medication, though. I'm actually not so much as depressed as I am anxious all the time. Anxious about my health, anxious about her. So, you know, we'll see how that one goes. But I'll continue to do updates, you know, for you guys. Updates on her, updates on us, on our family. I guess that's what this channel turns into now. Is just my life. So I guess, you know, our journey's not over, but it's going to change. You know, it's no more trying to get pregnant, no more pregnancy vlogs, no more nothing. This is it. This is going to be my new channel, is me talking about this little girl here and how she's doing, and our milestones and what we do, and I guess that's that. So, you know, for everybody who's been there for me, I know I have some people who have been there for me since day one, and I have some that are fresh and new, maybe last vlog. And for each and every 450 subscribers I have, thank you, because you guys have been there for me when I was feeling down, and, you know, you've been there since the beginning. I watch a lot of vlogs too. I don't watch pregnancy vlogs, but I do watch, there's quite a few vlogs that I do watch, and it's crazy to me that I've never met those people, because I know so much about their lives, and I feel so connected to them. And if any of you feel that way about me, you know, I can only imagine. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you for taking the time to watch my videos. Thank you for taking the time to be there. And thank you so much to the people who have sent us things, us items, you know, who have supported Veyda and who have been there and who have loved her since the beginning. And it's so crazy to me that people that I've never even met care. And that is such a big piece of this puzzle that has gotten us to where we are today. So just once again, thank you guys so much for everything that you've done. People who have been there and who have watched my videos, or if you're just new and just starting, just thank you for your time. And I can't wait for Veyda to get older so I can share this with her, so I can say, look, I documented it all. This is all for you. This was you. This is how I got you. And this is why you're so special to me. So, that's that then, guys. You can always follow my Instagram. I have a bajillion pictures of her on there and videos, and that's where you'll see her at, is on my Instagram. But I'll continue to make vlogs for you guys. I'll continue to talk to you and update you. We've made it this far. There's no sense in stopping now. So sorry it took so long to update you guys on my labor story. I wanted to kind of be like all put together. Like you see all those pregnancy vlogs, or those women are like put together. They have their makeup on and they're like sitting down talking about their like labor story. I'm like, oh, I want to do that. It's not going to happen. This is me. You guys have seen me in some of the worst of times, and this is it. This is me. My hair's gross. I haven't washed it or brushed it. I'm in my pajamas. I look like crap, but this is me. This is who I am, and I'm not going to change it for anything. So thank you guys so much, and I will see you later, I guess. I don't know. Maybe I'll do one weekly now or bi-weekly, or kind of see how I'm feeling in a couple weeks and determine that. But I will keep you guys updated on our life and on how she's doing. And that's that. So thank you guys for hanging in there, and I will see you later.